those things where we did the race on about 11 million euros, I think, when everyone else was spending 20 plus. So
wow,
it's difficult to compete.
I can
this
imagine.
time we've got a great boat and a great budget, which makes it much easier to do.
So this is Groupama 4.
Starting to bow as well.
Morning.
Worked our way back.
Yep. On board Groupama 4 with Phil Harmer.
So this is where obviously the foredeck where no one likes to spend much time.
Yep, I can imagine.
Obviously out on the bowsprit we have 3 sails that we can put out there. On the forestay we have 2 sails. We have one that goes into that trench.
Okay.
One on this trench, and then the storm jib is off this point here.
Okay.
And most of them sheet around the shrouds. You can see the pad eyes on the floor. We can get back to those, but
okay.
so it's all quite. We tried to keep this area as basic as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can see on a couple of the other boats they've put the tack lines for out on the spinnaker they're in tunnels that go through the boat. But
Well, that's something I wanted to ask you. Why are they on on top of the deck?
Just for weight purposes. Just the weight of the tunnel inside the boat was what we couldn't afford to put on the boat at the time. So
Okay. So
it was very hard to build a boat to the weight rule this time. So it was sort of trying to save every kilo to make the fin and bulb as heavy as possible.
So in today's conditions, what are you guys going to use as a head sail?
Depends on, it's the Pro-Am race today.
Yep.
And a lot of the time they will only say to use the big headsail instead of the code 0, but they may change it to say code 0s are allowed.
Depending on what?
Depending on how much wind there is.
Gotcha.
So we'll see if they change the rule, but otherwise it's just a jib, this one in the bag here that it's obviously it sheets down on it. If you look on the leeward side there's that track. That's how far back the G1 goes. So it's still a big jib, 200 odd square meters. So it's still quite big.
In terms of percentage, how big would you say it is? 150, 160?
I think it is probably 140.
140. Gotcha.
Something like that, I think. Then we have the 2 dagger boards you can see in the air here.
Yep.
With the covers on.
You guys had any issues with the dagger board so far?
Not any issues. I mean, I think given the angles, they're probably a little bit harder to get up and down. But well, no, we haven't hit anything and we haven't broken anything, so everything's been fine there. You can probably see if you run the camera down the dock, you can see the different angles on everybody's boards, which is always a topic of discussion.
That's true, yes.
And you can see that Telefonica is the same as us, but a little bit further.
Right.
I guess this has all been a study on the open 60s, and we did some CFD and some studies on that, and we thought this was the best plot for us, and we seem to work quite well with the boards, and we seem to be quite fast. So.
Any issues with the canting keel so far?
No, you're always going to have some issues with the PLC, which is the computer that runs the keel system, and that's a little bit fiddly, but we've had no hydraulic issues at all, no structural issues, so
nice.
Everything's been fine. The cover's off this side, so we'll go down this side.
Okay.
You see, this is quite an interesting feature that we have. Don't know if the camera will pick it up that well. This is made by Carbolink. It's a carbon fibre.
The rods, huh?
Yeah, so it comes in a coil. It's it's building a boat. It's like pre-preg.
Yeah.
And then they'll dress the rig, put the rigging on the rig, laying it down on the cradle and on the road there, and then it's like they connect electricity to it, and that cooks it and makes it go hard. So we're the only team to have.
That's actually I was reading that you guys, in terms of rigging, you guys are the most innovative boat in the fleet.
You can see we've only got 3 spreaders.
Right.
And it was I mean, last race when Telefonica took the jumpers off, which is I guess you'd say the 5th set of spreaders, everyone thought they were crazy, and then when they saw us, everyone thought we were crazy as well.
Yeah.
Everyone was convinced we were going to break our mast on the first night. It turned out that it was Abu Dhabi. So.
Yep.
But it's an interesting feature, and it seems to work quite well, and that's quite a good one.
Sweet.
Obviously, the pad eyes are a little bit just to save weight instead of having a track everywhere we sheet the jib.
So you prefer the pad eyes instead of the track, huh?
I think offshore it's fine because it does take a little bit longer to set the jib up, but
yeah.
If we were racing inshore, I'd put a track on for sure.
Yeah.
But it seems to work well. Obviously, so we set 3 or 4 jibs there, and we have another set of pad eyes here for another jib, and then obviously the G1 back here.
G1, okay.
And it all works on just purchases with turning blocks and rings. All quite simple. I guess this is quite a standout area on our boat, the centralised pit. So we have all the halyards and all the come out through one hole in the back of the mast, come into the pit area.
So this is the pit winch, I guess. Actually, all 3 of them, huh?
They are, yeah. This one is driven, so we can get all the pedestals connected and grind up the halyards here instead of moving the halyards back.
Gotcha.
So one of the pit primary winches. And as we come back, obviously you'll see on all the other boats that this is reversed, so the runner on all the other boats, the back and the primary is on the front.
Oh yeah.
So we were working really hard to move all the weight back in the boat.
Yeah.
For high speed sailing. So
yep.
It seems to work quite well, and just by chance, it does increase the communication in the trimming loop. So you can have obviously your jib trimmers on the leeward side here. Mainsail trimmer is sitting just there and the helmsman's there, so it's very easy to communicate to each other and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then coming back again, obviously the mainsail setup is pretty straightforward. Just the point in the middle is quite a light feature. And we sheet most of the jibs will sheet through this block to the primary. Have all the spinnakers and stuff running off the back. Which is another noticeable feature, I guess, this big tower. So a lot of the other boats will just have the one block at the back, like most boats in the world.
And this part of the boat, I think it's so strong that I saw you guys going through those blocks when lifting the boats out of the water.
Yeah, yeah. This is it's quite a heavy feature. It's quite a sacrifice in weight, but I think the performance gain on the sails more than makes up for it. So that's the reason why we went so high.
Code 0 goes through here, huh?
It does at times, yeah. Whenever we're going fast and reaching, we'll always put it on the top here. But it also gave us the chance with our spinnaker to sheet straight from here instead of here.
Gotcha.
To have a bigger sail, because you can imagine if you had your correct sheeting angle made for this block, then if you transfer it to here, then it actually thinks the boat is this long.
Gotcha.
So you can carry a much bigger sail.
Okay, gotcha.
That's one of the big reasons for doing it. And it is a sacrifice in weight, but it seems to be quite a good feature, and it is definitely helping with the performance. So it was a good feature, and this area is quite simple. You can see a lot of the other boats have a very complicated setup here. We're quite straightforward, just a port and starboard for the keel.
Okay.
And then a float button, which means that will just release the ram and it will swing free.
Okay.
Which is quite nice if you're going upwind and it goes light. It's much faster than obviously there's a DC pump which runs on the battery power to swing the keel, and we can also use the engine.
Wow. So that's where, does every boat have a controller over here for the keel?
Yep. Yep.
And what is more complicated with the other boats compared to Groupama 4 in the keel control?
I think everyone is running pretty much the same system. It's just a lot of the other boats choose to have a fast and a slow mode, and also they can turn the engine on over here as well, which could be a good idea, but it's just one more thing for the helmsman to do instead of driving, so we chose not to.
Gotcha.
This is quite a good feature. Just a button here, and it's an intercom to the nav station, so
the
driver can talk to the guy downstairs without having to yell, and
That's actually very handy.
Yeah, it's quite
good. Some some details, some small stuff that makes your life much easier on the boat.
It's nice also when because we sail the boat with 4 on deck most of the time.
Yeah.
And if it's really gnarly, like in the Southern Ocean was, and you can't really afford to send one person down to wake up the next watch, we just hit the button and give those guys a shake for us. So
gotcha.
It's a good feature.
So let me ask you a question. The 60% of the race is almost done.
Yep.
Who do you think has the most chance? The best shot to win the race. Considering what is each team's performance so far.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, everyone at the moment is talking about momentum in the race and how Telefonica started with momentum and sort of lost it. And we had some momentum in the middle of the race and we broke the mast. But Puma seems to be on quite a good run at the moment. But I mean, those guys are very good. All the boats are really good.
Yeah.
Any of the top 4 could win the race at the moment. So I would say that it probably will be one of the 1K boats.
Okay.
Either us, Telefonica or a Puma. But yeah, Telefonica in a very strong position. It's nice to be out in front with an 11-point lead.
Yeah.
With only 3 legs to go, but anything can happen, like we saw.
Yeah. On
the last leg, I mean, we were dead and buried in the water, and we were second last, and then weather changed and we came third. So I think there's going to be less and less of that as the race goes on. I think the Atlantic's pretty stable. And I would bet that all the 1K boats will stay close together for the whole transatlantic.
Yeah.
Most of the race we've been able to see another boat the whole time, so it's stressful sailing and it's hard
it is.
Sailing.
I can imagine.
It's also quite good to be able to finish a 20-day leg 10 minutes apart instead of 2 days apart. So.
You know what else I want you to do for me? If you can actually get me into the ambience of the moment when you guys got demasted, and what was the feelings, and what was actually the first reaction, and then the thoughts.
Yeah. I think the first reaction was a bit of shock, and everyone was pretty upset about it. There was a lot of swearing going on.
I can imagine.
But it was really disappointing to work so hard those 2 days to get an 8-mile lead on Puma, and then to have it all disappear in one quick moment. But it was it was really frustrating, and everyone was upset. But 10 minutes after it, everyone was back to their job, and everyone was trying to keep the boat safe and try and save the rig first. That was a big part, save all the sails, and then Jean-Luc worked straight away, was working out where we were going to go, and about half an hour after the rig came down and we were still picking up the pieces, we had a destination to go to. There was already plans in motion to fly the rig out, and everything was go. So it was a disappointing experience, but it was a great experience to see that there's just so much fight in the team, and everyone's going to do it. But we knew that we could potentially, and it did happen, we could get a jury rig in, or we could get the new rig in and still finish the
admirable.
Third.
So admirable. I mean, you guys were determined.
Yeah, and we couldn't have done it without the shore team. They put in like half the shore team flew down to Uruguay, and just when they got there, they just took over from the sailors. They knew we were all tired and needed a break, and they just took over and got it all done, and we were off again I think we were only there for maybe 20 hours maximum.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it was a huge effort from everyone, and I think when you talk about momentum, I think that plays a big part in it as well. Sure, it was a disappointing moment in the team, but it was also in some way a triumphant moment where we knew that there was still so much fight, and no one's going to give up until the finish line. So it was good to see, and it was sure it was frustrating, but that's sailing.
Gotcha.
We're not the first boat that it's happened to in the race. So.
Have you ever been to Greece?
Never been to Greece, but actually I was talking to my wife last night, and I think she's booked us a sailing holiday.
Sweet, nice.
I did mention to her that I've just been sailing for 2 years, and I'm not sure that I want to go sailing for a holiday, but...
Right, that's... When? Just after the race?
No, we're going to give it a few months, I think, and
okay.
Stay. And we live in England, so we'll probably get back, and we've just done some stuff to our house, but we'll get back and...
That would be awesome.
Get relaxed, and then we'll head to Greece and spend a couple of weeks on a yacht. Could be nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's a destination that I'd really like to go to, and either sail around the island or just look around. I mean, everyone everyone in the sailing world talks about Greece as a sailing destination and as a place to go windsurfing and a place for all of this. So it's definitely on our bucket list, if you can say that.
If you can give me a very quick tour in the boat, I'm going to turn off the camera because I know that you guys are not allowed to.
It's still a bit of a secret, but I think with the new rule, everything will become less and less of a secret.
Yeah, I guess so.